They destroyed our friendships. They turned us into savages. They were called Facebook games. You remember those really old Facebook games, the ones that had you spamming your friends for energy and free gifts? Oh well, those are mobile games now, but before smartphones were a thing, like a really popular thing, these games lived on Facebook. And just like any middle schooler who just discovered social media and totally told the truth about their age while signing up, Facebook was my life. Before this, all we had were phone numbers scribbled on math notebooks and maybe Yahoo Messenger and its silly emotes. But now, here was an online space that we could call our own. The old Facebook walls were like our own mini websites where we could be ourselves, as seen in my strange pictures where I'm not really sure what I'm doing. And it got even more interesting because Facebook had games. Now, Zynga was the first developer I remember playing games from, and they made games like Mafia Wars, which was basically click the button, watch the bar go up, click the button, watch the bar go up. So yeah, I guess we liked watching moving sticks. Until Pet Society by Playfish caught on. So, Pet Society was this cutesy little game where we had these pet animals and they'd turn out to be wish fulfillment or whatever. So, we could all be as cute as we wished we could be in real life. You could buy these cute, cartoony pieces of furniture and decorate a house however you liked. Of course, everyone took their chance to style it up. And there was one person who managed to do it first. Gary managed to play the game earlier than any of us. Now Gary, he was rolling in gold coins before we even heard of the game, while we all walked around in our puny little starter homes. This guy was like level 30 with 10 rooms decked out with all kinds of stuff. Having your pet stand next to his was like climbing up on stage beside a K-pop idol. You're just not gonna look good beside that. So this was before smartphones and Wi-Fi became a thing, like a really popular thing, and you couldn't exactly play Pet Society on an old Nokia or flip phone. So everyone mostly played at home. But your social status on this game would carry over to real life even though nobody would actually be playing in school. Now, since everybody in class was playing this game, Pet Society became the subject of, 143% of our conversations, and everyone was flocking to Gary because everyone wanted to know how to catch up. Of course, he took advantage of this to get in good with the popular kids, who eventually formed their own clique. The clique was eventually unseated when Playfish came out with a new game, Restaurant City, a game where you set up and decorated your restaurant. A very simple but very hypnotizing concept. I played this game so much that even years later I still subconsciously drum out the game's music. Things started getting interesting because now we were getting a little bit more competitive. Since we were all starting at the same time, there was no Gary on the throne. That seat was for all of us to seize for ourselves. I sank many hours into that game, but I could never reach my classmates' dedication. And this is when games went from being things in cartridges that you could just binge on the entire day, to games that actually followed real lifetime. In this game, your restaurant employees had this energy system where they'd get slower and stop if their energy ran low. So there were actually some classmates who would wake up in the middle of the night just so their employees could keep working at maximum capacity.
Time to feed Jammy again!
And me, I was a little solo at the time. I wasn't as competitive as everyone else, and I was slowly falling behind because I wasn't as mind-bogglingly obsessed. For me, I just wanted to whip up a classic fancy restaurant, Disney Ratatouille Gusteau style, and decorate it in a way I was proud of. But everything changed when the Alliance attacked. See, in this game, you could choose your own menu and music for your restaurant, and because of my choices and the way I decorated it, I was invited to join this clique and found myself in an alliance with everyone else who was building European-style restaurants. In here were some big names, with folks who actually were seriously into this. These guys would be at the top level of my friends list leaderboards, with restaurants that made me drool as soon as I saw them. These guys weren't playing around, they really experimented for maximum efficiency. A core part of this game was the layout of the restaurant because you got to decide where the cooking stations were and where customers would eat. For me, I worked the way a typical sit-down restaurant did, where waiters delivered meals to each individual table, which were spaced apart, of course, like a normal restaurant. These guys took a different direction. One of our ringleaders put all of his tables together and arranged them in a square with the chefs and waiters in the middle. This was a lot faster than having your kitchen on the sides and then having waiters bring it to each table. Another layout split the restaurant into 2 squares to make trips from the stoves to the tables even shorter. Their notebooks would be full of these doodles while they experimented with different layouts, even making sure to plot out where certain decorations would be. We were essentially architects and interior designers at this point, doing everything we could, so that our chain of European-style restaurants would beat the Japanese restaurant clan in the class. But it didn't end there. See, playfish games like Restaurant City and Pet Society brought out the competitive spirit in us, but they never really let us fight. Not the way Empires and Allies did. Empires and Allies, made by Zynga, was the real banger that turned our class into Game of Thrones. This game was a little bit like Clash of Clans, but it had a slightly different combat system that was turn-based. Anyways, the driving factor behind our competition was the fact that you could attack your friends' islands. Yeah, it played out pretty much exactly how you'd expect. And Empires and Allies was different also from Clash of Clans, in the sense that you had all of these resources, lots of resources to manage, and you couldn't get them all by yourself. You needed to ask friends for them or attack other people, and this decided a lot of our alliances. The clans were formed as people accounted for each of the different metals, making sure that they had members that could supply them in trade so that they could become the best. Together. We got serious about this. If there was a war between our clans, we would be shunning each other in real life too. Folks who were best friends one day could just stop talking to each other the next just because the clans were at war. After school, we'd get into yelling matches and all-caps Facebook conversations over a surprise attack during exam week. And one dude named Frank started the trend of making up fake stories with planted witnesses just to get people in trouble.
Hey, Mr. Smith, Karen hit me and stole my pencil.
Yeah, it's true. I saw it. And he also said your son is ugly.
We had espionage and double-crossing. There were folks who would suddenly become really nice in school, chatting us up and getting all friendly, but really, they wanted to know what was going on with us. Who was going overseas over the weekend? Who was getting grounded? And then, when they found a gap, they'd strike. Alliances were built and friendships were lost. All hell broke loose while we continued to try and one-up each other. We moved to a few other games, but I remember checking out myself. Probably also because I was getting sick of all these weird dynamics, which never really changed until I got a new set of classmates the next year. If we look back at it now, we can laugh about it and agree that we were all just being stupid. We were dumb kids anyway, getting way too competitive and riled up over silly games. And funny enough, I don't remember much about the game itself, aside from the music, which still is stuck in my head many years later. What I do remember are the people I played with and the interactions I had with them, like the French restaurant guild and the planning around we did. So, games can matter quite a bit. They're a hobby and they can bring people together just like any other one. Going through all that nasty drama makes me a lot less likely to be hyper-competitive, because really the most important part is just playing with friends and having a blast. I mean, sure, I like winning, but losing can be really fun when you're losing with friends. And at the end of the match, we play games to have fun, and if being the best gets in the way of having fun, then we're probably playing the wrong game.